Out of all the crappy games I'm going to end up playing on this show, Crawl was an absolute delight to play. This thing was so good, I don't even know where to start. Like, there's a reason why this game is overwhelmingly positive on Steam, so let's get into that. Now, this game is actually meant for like couch co-op, but because I don't have people to play couch co-op with just readily available, there actually is like a bot system in the game where you can select how many bots you want to play with, and you'll go up against AI like partners with you, which is kind of like a big deal because the whole point of the game is to have other people to go against you in this, you know, like dungeon crawler-esque game. So it's kind of like a cool thing that there is actually an option to play the game without having real people like available to play with you, because this gives you a lot of like nice practice, especially because the game doesn't give you a whole lot of instructions on how to play. It just kind of throws you in and like you feel super overwhelmed, but that's really cool, I think, because you get to learn the whole experience by yourself and learn what's good to do and what's bad and how everything works. And it's just it was a really enjoyable experience to like boot the game up and just be blind, have no idea what you're doing. Starting up a new match, you pick a deity. There's a couple of different deities that you start with, but you obviously unlock more as you play. Each deity has their own special like sort of thing going for them. Like one of them you'll start with more gold and maybe a weapon, or the other ones will make your monsters stronger. Like each of them have their own benefits and reasons why you would pick them over the other deities. It really just all depends on your play style though. Getting into the match, the first thing you do is you face off between you and the other players in the round, and you have to try to kill them first because everybody's kind of like at a one hit to start with, and then whoever the victor is over the first little room, that's going to determine who gets to play as the human first and who gets to play as the ghosts or specters or whatever you want to call those. Starting off on the human side of things, your basic goal is to just go through and try to survive as long as you can and rack up gold and just grab resources and stuff like that. Like there's a blacksmith on each floor. You want to go to the blacksmith and buy weapons and or I think they're called artifacts. They give you like kind of like bonuses and stuff like that. And then there's potions, and the potions will actually either it'll increase one skill by 2, but minus one of the skills by 1. Are not really skills, but they're your stats, which are vitality, strength, and endurance, or agility, I think it is. So obviously agility makes you move faster, vitality gives you more health, strength makes you hit harder, do more damage, etc. So you want to increase your stats by buying these potions and kind of do the trade-off here and there by trading in gold for the potions and everything, and then you'll get better weapons as you progress further down to each floor, and the artifacts will give you better bonuses. And there's also these like little books that teach you techniques, which replace your on the keyboard and mouse setup. It's right click. By default, I think you have just like a crappy little roll, but you can change it to where you have like a spectral bow that shoots a shot every so often, or like a laser beam that fires across the map, or like extended roll, or like a teleport, or just like all kinds of these like cool little crazy techniques that kind of help you with your play style and kind of progress you in your quest to get as big as possible, because the end goal is to fight a boss at the end by using these little portal things on each floor. I don't know if they're on a lot of the beginning floors, but once you get further down, you come across these portals, and you have to be level 10, and to get to level up, you have to go through and either kill other players as the monsters, or just like kill a lot of monsters and gain a lot of XP and stuff like that. But once you teleport through the portal, you go through and you're in this like kind of like a before the boss room, where you'll get a whole bunch of health and stuff like that to kind of get you ready for it. And it kind of tries to teach you like a mechanic of the boss sometimes. I know there's one boss where there's like these little, like, they almost look like worms or whatever, but they're really fat and round. and you're supposed to hit the worm into the door to make it explode, which kind of tells you like, hey, this is how the boss is going to go, because during the boss it throws out these little worms every so often, and you can hit them into the boss to deal damage to it, or if it opens its mouth, you can hit it into its mouth and it'll like open up like a spot to do way more damage, like a crit spot or whatever. So like, I don't know, there's a whole bunch to learn, but you learn it as you're playing through the game and everything, and it's just a really fun experience, and it feels like a super cool like arcadey game that's not like super overly difficult, but it is hard enough to where you're like, yeah, like I want to like hunker down and focus on this so I can try to be the best player and win the game before my like opponents do. So let's move over to the ghost side of things. So when you die, you fall on the ground and it opens up a portal on your body where the enemy who became the human can actually teleport straight to the blacksmith and give themselves a chance to, you know, buy some equipment and buff themselves up. But once you die, you become a ghost, and you can possess things in the dungeon. So you can become a pot or a fucking barrel or something like minuscule or whatever, and throw yourself at the enemy to do small damage. Or when the enemy comes across a room where it has like pentagrams on the floor, you can possess the pentagram and it'll roll a random monster that you have. Each deity has a set of 3 different monsters, so it kind of just rolls in between all 3 of those and gives you one. And whichever one you get, you just kind of use that monster's abilities to try to do as much damage, ultimately to try to kill the person who's playing as the human, because if you're the one that does the final hit to it, you get your humanity back and you get to run around the dungeon and, you know, try to farm up gold again, as you would expect. There's also like these little traps that you can come across. There were like, some of them are like a trap that shoots in one direction and it'll like stab the enemy, and certain ones will shoot spears or shoot fireballs, etc. But your whole goal is to try to do as much damage to the human player as possible, so that way you can get your humanity back and level up and progress through and try to out-level your enemies, so that way you can ultimately beat the boss. Another key mechanic to this game is the in-between screens on the rounds. Once you progress down the stairs and go to another floor, there's this in-between screen where you have a chance to upgrade your different monsters that you have. So you get these points called Wrath, which is where each time a human opponent, so you're playing as a ghost, levels up, you get Wrath, and so does the other ghost that's playing with you. Whereas if you don't play as the ghost as much, you're not going to get as much Wrath. But you use this Wrath to like upgrade your monsters, and each monster has like a 2 different trees that you can kind of go down and upgrade them into different kinds of monsters that have different attacks and so forth and everything. And obviously you unlock more of these different monsters to upgrade into as you play the game and unlock everything at the end of games, which is a really cool mechanic in my opinion. So the more you play it, the better monsters you get, which in turn helps you do more damage to the players, which ultimately builds a more rewarding experience, so that way every single match isn't the same. You're unlocking new monsters here and there and new traps and all kinds of crazy new stuff like weapons and everything at the end of these games, which is really interesting. Each floor on this game is procedurally generated, so it's all random, and it gives you sort of that interesting feel to it. So every time you start up a new game, you're not dealing with the same thing every time, which makes it a lot more interesting. So it's only like fitting that each time you play a new game, you're going to roll a different boss. Each of the 3 different games that I played, I got a different boss every time, so I'm not completely sure how many bosses there are in total, but the bosses are really hard. Like, you really have to go through and, you know, pick your stats correctly by using the potions and try to grab as many artifacts as you can and get the right technique that you want to play as good as you can, because this, like, event at the end, obviously it's to finish the entire game. It's not supposed to be easy, but this stuff is really rough. Like, every boss that I faced, except for the last one you could kind of like work it down here and there, but like the boss that you're seeing on the screen right now, he shoots out so many different projectiles. It's ridiculous. Like, there's so much going on the screen, it's almost impossible not to get hit by something like all the time. So, you know, it's only right that these are really tough like enemies that you need to really like prep up to like being able to fight. But they were super fun to fight, and even towards the end, I ended up beating the boss and winning a match, which was super fulfilling because it lets you know, like, hey, you did it, and it like every time you beat a match or end a match, really, it unlocks new stuff for you to play with in the next one, like new traps and new weapons and then all kinds of stuff like that. So very cool. All in all, I'm really happy that I got to play this game. Originally, I rolled a game called Ricochet, which is actually made by Valve themselves, but it came out in the year 2000, and it was pretty much dead at this point. I don't know, some people might get on there every once in a while, but when I got on, there was only like maybe 10 servers at the most, and every single one of them were empty. I even joined and tried to play around a little bit just to see what I could do, but without actual players to go against, it's really nothing at all. So I actually had to re-roll for this game, but I'm super glad I did because this was a great experience. All in all, this game was super fun. If you're looking for an arcade style like dungeon crawler game with pixel graphics, this is the ultimate game like on the market, to be honest. It's retails for $15 on a normal basis, and honestly that's not a bad asking price for it in my opinion, especially if you have like some people who you can actually play couch co-op with. I could only imagine that this game would be so much more fun if I were to have played it with actual friends and stuff like that, going against each other and having that sort of like Mario Kart like feel to it, where you love your friends but you hate your friends kind of deal. But even just playing against the AI was super fun for me. So I mean, this was great. I would honestly give this game 4.5 deities out of 5. So, you know, take my opinion for what it's worth, I guess. I would definitely recommend it. But anyways, this has been my longest roulette so far, just because I had such great things to say about this game, and it's really crazy mechanics. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. There should be some stuff on the screen coming up soon or now. I never know with these things, but click some of those links if you want to watch some of my other videos, or maybe even subscribe. I'm going to keep doing this series as long as I don't get tired of doing it, which so far I'm going pretty strong. So anyway, see you guys in the next video.